Funding for this program has been provided by CTR Business Systems, specializing in mid-range business information technology, serving business around the globe, an IBM business partner.
The Democracy Project. From Chicago, PBS and NBC News cover the Democratic National Convention.
Funding for this program has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you.
Good evening and welcome to the United Center in Chicago and to the second night of the Democratic National Convention. I'm Jim Lara. This is keynote and Hillary Clinton night for the Democrats. We will be covering it all again with our partners, NBC News, led by Tom Brokaw. Hello, Tom.
Jim, good evening once again. Well, as you indicated, there will be many speakers tonight, including some big names, but the headliner will be a member of the family, First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton. And the White House and Democratic officials now have rearranged the podium schedule so she'll get the prime time right after Aretha Franklin sings the national anthem and the First Lady is introduced by Tipper Gore. The official explanation for all of this was that they didn't want to risk the networks cutting off everyone at 11 o'clock tonight Eastern Time, so they've put the young Indiana governor, Evan Bayh, the keynoter, at the back end of the primetime schedule. Now, the record should show that there was no threat from any network, so far as we know, to cut off the First Lady or the keynote speaker. We would run over, just as we did last night, if necessary. There will be other speakers tonight as well, some stars from conventions past. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, Mario Cuomo, two of the, of course, large liberal voices in this party of diminishing liberal voices. So we have a full night ahead here, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And in addition to covering the podium tonight, we will be talking about Hillary Rodham Clinton and other First Ladies, among many other things. We'll hear from several prominent Democrats, as well as pollsters Andy Kohut and Eddie Williams, and our regular team, Doris Kearns-Goodwin, Bill Kristol, Michael Beschloss, Haynes Johnson, David Gergen, who will have a conversation with former Kennedy and Johnson aide Richard Goodwin, and Shields and Gigot, syndicated columnist Mark Shields, Wall Street Journal columnist Paul Gigot. Paul, is this a night that has the potential to be remembered from this night forward always as Hillary Clinton night in Chicago, Illinois?
At least until the end of the week, Jim. Look, when a public figure gets a view fixed in the public mind, a political figure, there are very few chances to really change that, because you don't have a wide national audience when you're just giving a campaign speech or stumping somewhere. But when you have this is one of those opportunities, and I think that the Democrats, especially after seeing the job that Elizabeth Dole did at the Republican convention, when in many respects she was the star of that convention, certainly one of the two or three main stars, they're looking to see what they can do to rehabilitate and improve the public image of the First Lady.
And Mark, before the Elizabeth Dole performance in San Diego, although everybody says that didn't have anything to do with anything, the fact of the matter is it wasn't even firm that Mrs. Clinton was going to address this convention. And as Tom said, not only is she going to address it earlier, she was supposed to address it at the end of the evening tonight. And as Tom said, they moved it into the big time. So all the dice are out there tonight.
The dice has been rolled. The stakes were certainly upped by Elizabeth Dole's performance, her tour de force last week, 2 weeks ago in San Diego. Mrs. Clinton, has taken the job of spouse of the president, the only federal job office from which the person holding it cannot be either impeached or fired. I mean, that, you know, it's a unique position. She's taken that job. In the past, her predecessors must always handle very safe issues, literacy, mental health.
Mrs. Bush did.
I mean, worthwhile drugs. I mean, that were worthwhile. But there was no other side. There was no pro-drug lobby against her, and no pro-illiteracy lobby. Mrs. Clinton, her husband, obviously Lee, gave her a very tough assignment, a tough assignment, overhauling the national health system with a lot of large, powerful economic interests. And I would say one thing tonight to look for her. I think Paul is absolutely right. This is a chance for her to revamp, to make people revisit, review her. If she comes out with some humor, a little self-deprecating humor, I think it would work.
Okay, and there's a lot that happens between now and then, however, and let's go back to Tom. Tom?
Thank you, Jim. Well, among other things, they have put this platform before this convention tonight, and as you might expect, it is being well received because that's all been worked out well in advance of all of this. NBC's Tim Russert is with me now to talk about the platform. Some sharp differences with the Republicans, Tim, on the issues of abortion, affirmative action, and gun control, but Bob Dole and Jack Kemp and all the other people running on the Republican ticket are already saying, platform? I guess we did have a platform.
They
didn't bother to read it.
Didn't bother to read it. It's interesting, Tom. In San Diego, the Republican Party platform reflected the views of the delegates. In Chicago, the Democratic Party platform reflects the views of Bill Clinton. The Democratic platform is out of sync with the majority of the delegates on that floor. They changed it yesterday to reflect support of the new welfare reform legislation. If you put welfare reform bill on the floor of this convention, it would lose 2-1.
We're going to hear about welfare reform tonight in those speeches from Jesse Jackson and from Mario Cuomo.
And 3 speakers today stood at that podium and criticized the president's position on welfare. And you know what? President Clinton couldn't have been happier.
Yeah.
Because it shores him up with those white swing voters in suburbs. And also, for the first time in a long time at a Democratic convention, Tony Hall, congressman from Ohio, stood up and said, we have to protect the rights of the unborn, and I'm proud to stand here as a Democrat and say that. And the Democratic Party is big enough to protect the diversity of my view.
But the fact of the matter is that these candidates in both parties these days run on their agenda, not what the convention serves up to them, and that's pretty much been the case for a long time.
Absolutely, and this is Bill Clinton's platform. You know, one delegate put it best. He said, look, I'm a lot more liberal than Bill Clinton, but no one as liberal as me could ever be elected president. So let him have his platform and get reelected, because he's better than Newt Gingrich.
Leon Panetta, the White House Chief of Staff here in Chicago today, leaked quite deliberately, it looks like, part of the president's speech for Thursday night to try to, again, ease some of the concerns of those people who did not like the welfare reform bill. The president's going to propose a jobs initiative, tax credits for manufacturers and big businesses in the inner city if they'll give those jobs to welfare recipients. That's not going to go very far, do you think, realistically?
No, I don't. Not with this Republican Congress. The First Lady yesterday tried very hard to say, don't worry, we're going to fix welfare. And there are some people in the administration who are saying, listen, whether you like it or not, we made a decision on welfare. Let's go forward and stick to it. If you start telling the public you're waffling on it, then they think it's a nod and a wink, and if he gets reelected, he is going to shift hard left. I think the president ought to, he made the decision on welfare, stay the course with it now.
All right, thanks, Tim Russert. And down at the podium tonight, a member of our team who's joined us here in Chicago, she's there with the chair of the platform committee, and that's Maria Shriver. Maria.
Thanks a lot, Tom. As you were right, I am here with Governor Zell Miller of Georgia. And we were just hearing Tim Russert talk about the platform. A lot of the delegates here don't feel that the platform reflects the Democratic Party that they joined 5-10 years ago. Why are they wrong?
Well, this is a platform that really reflects the issues that are important in the daily lives of our citizens. There's still division in this party among some of the, what I would call, side issues, but there's a great deal of commonality on the big issues like job creation and education.
But how concerned are you about the divisions? That people would say tension, this isn't reflected, the Democratic Party sold out. It's the Republican Party with a different name.
It is a party that is addressing the real issues that matter to people. Those issues that matter to the family that sits up around the kitchen table at night after the kids have gone to bed. They're not talking about some of the issues that you reporters like to say are big issues. They're talking about where their kids are going to college and whether they've got the money to pay for them. They're talking about whether or not they're going to have health care for their mother or their grandmother. They talk about whether they're going to have jobs.
But when you get out and you walk this floor of this convention center, do people come up to you and say, I am really angry about welfare reform? This is not what the Democratic Party is about.
I don't have anybody that has come up to me and says that they're angry about anything.
Really? Nobody?
Nobody. There are people here who
Where are you walking?
There are people who have different opinions on some of these things. I used to tell my students when I was teaching, but you're never going to find a candidate that you can agree with on every issue unless you become that candidate yourself. This is a great big party, and we have different issues, but on the big issues that really matter, we're together.
Governor Miller, thanks so much. We're going to go back up to the booth and Tom.
Thank you, Maria. And we're going to go right back down to the podium where Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. is about to introduce his father who has moved back to Chicago. Jesse Jackson Jr. represents a congressional district from the city.
Reverend Jesse Jackson, like the President of the United States, for which office he was twice a major candidate, is a public man who needs no introduction to this audience. You are here today as Democrats because you love your country. And because of your love for your country, you already know a lot about Jesse Jackson. You know that he served with Martin Luther King Jr., risking death to march the highways and the byways of this great land from sea to shining sea in an unrelenting search for freedom and justice for all Americans. You also know that just no private citizen in public life in the history of this great country has been more committed, more useful, or more loyal to the ideals expressed in our beloved Constitution. Make no mistake, my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, is a hero to many of you, but he is also a hero to me. The temptation is to talk about Jesse Jackson, the public figure, the fighter for racial and social and economic justice. But my colleague John Lewis and Ambassador Andrew Young can best tell you about the civil rights battles that have taken place in foxholes. They know him, and they know him best because they've suffered with him. They've marched with him. But for just a moment, I want to take you home. Come home to me and with me to the breakfast table. That is where I learned about Jesse Jackson, the father, the husband, and my best friend. It was there that Jesse Jackson taught his children. He began our meals with grace. And I learned that the greatest thing that Jesse Jackson ever did for me was that he married my mother. And the greatest thing that ever happened to me was that my mother and my father gave me my brothers and sisters, who I likewise represent tonight. What was it that Jesse Jackson taught us? Some of it wasn't original. He taught us to do unto others as others would do unto you. He taught us to love thy neighbor as thyself. He taught us to respect ourselves. He taught us to trust. He taught us to love.